What a day to be alive. This is going to be a My Students Rock video, but I would like to put a bit of a side spin on it and start off with a classic. So to some extent it should be an old classics. Then again, I really wanted to turn it into a My Students Rock, and so I decided to keep it My Students Rock, but starting off with a classic. And the classic game is Euwe-Reti, really correctly pronounced, but no one knows that. A very, very famous game with a very flashy finish, and as always, I always like to link old classic games with either recent games where the knowledge from the classic game supported a present player, and in this case it's going to be my student. Although the connection is not obvious in the sense I'm not 100% sure whether said student knew this name or not, game or not, but I want to show you the concept and then see how it was put into practice, even if it may not have happened that way. So we are playing here a Scotch Gambit theory, and here Euwe, later on a world champion, so we are not talking about a nobody, plays knight takes d4 instead of the theoretical knight e4. Now knight takes d4 is at best terrible, so I'm not quite sure what made him choose this very suspicious move. But instead of retaking the piece, taking the pawn simply allows black to keep the extra piece by playing f5. Note that f3, ugly as sin, even if it worked, it would be very, very ugly, loses instantly to bishop c5. And instead, combinations of queen c5 and bishop c5 threats make this piece sacrifice fully unplayable. Note also that knight e4 is not playable due to queen e1. So yeah, as I said, I really don't know what got into Euwe when he played this, but at least we got richer with a truly amazing game by Reti, who played here the correct queen c5, queen check, king f7. White simply doesn't have enough pieces to attack the king. Tuk tuk tuk. And rook d1. At least white has fully mobilized and black is still at home with everybody. And what happened here is a textbook case of how to convert material advantage into a clearly winning game. So now we could try to hang on to everything we have as black and then face some major difficulties, especially because the rooks are so far away from being connected. So Reti, very wisely, also known as Reti once again, plays the bishop d6, sacrificing an exchange, but in turn clearing up the position, blocking of the d file, kind of preparing for completion of development and kind of trapping the queen. And just the whole picture is now, the impression is that white is hopelessly and utterly lost here. Dude plays f4. Note that rook takes e4, that seems to be quite logical, is hardcore refuted by bishop e4. The rook has to be captured, and after bishop e4, mate is to come very soon. Beautiful demonstration of how quickly a position can spring out. Look at it, from here, everybody at home, we got to here in a mere 4 moves. All it took is to give some material away for the sake of turning it into an advantage. But this is not what I wanted to show you. What I wanted to show you was that after the dodgy f4 and rook e4, he plays the beautiful bishop h3, sacking the other rook, which is the main theme, by the way, of the game. The double rook sack in order to utilize the remainder of the pieces in the most aggressive fashion. And after queen takes bishop check, it was essentially time to throw the table in. He didn't, but he could have, should have. He played king h1, and after bishop takes g2, king g2, queen g4 check, white did indeed resign. King h1 is met by queen f3 mate, and king f1 is also going to be met by mate in 2. So what we learned from this is that when we have superior, well, I wouldn't say development, but our forces are ready to strike, it's much better to sack the rooks and utilize the remainder of the army, because now they are fully operational and the queen is tucked away 5 kilometers away, so it's completely harmless. And here is the beautiful finish. Now this was the lead up. Normally I would have made this a lot bigger of a deal, but because of the quality of the game is fairly poor, I decided not to. What I decided to do, however, is to show you how my student dealt with a similar situation as black. So we are seeing here a Sveshnikov, which turns out to be a non-Sveshnikov because white chickens out from theory and plays this rather poor knight c6, which already supports black center, and as such it's a really poor idea. d5 was played. This may have been a bit premature. Maybe bishop e7 castles and then d5 is a bit more accurate, but I really like the aggro fashion. We are playing this bishop b5 check, probably another waste of move because bishop d7 and white has nothing. And then came bishop g5. This is already a blunder, but that being said, the whole position looks very, very bad for white because he lost control of the center entirely. So bishop g5 was correctly met by take on b5, and now simply knight b5 is met by check and d4, hurting white a lot. Inserted this take, pawn took back, very clever recapture, so that we can keep the check. The equation, which indeed did come. d4, and it looks like the game is over, but not quite. Credit to white. He plays the queen f3 and starts to wiggle, and annoying wiggling it is because the rook is hanging and queen c6 check is pending, and apparently we are a little bit soft on these white squares, so black has to be cautious. Was rook c8 played, the correct move, so student is really rocking the house here. Perfect moves all the way. Queen b7, and here I'm somewhat torn because the move that was played I absolutely love. However, it was not correct continuation. According to the mighty engine, queen c7 simply retreating the queen and transposing into this endgame would have been the cleanest win. But this is lame. Instead, my student chose to go for fame and glory, and good on him. I really am proud of this move, irrespective of its actual value. It got taken. I think potentially an inserted check may have caused more trouble because the king can't go up because that would block the bishop. On occasion on d7, the king is exposed to further checks. Anyhow, got taken, queen c3 check. Now the king had to go to e2. Queen took on c2, and now the king went back to f1. I'm not quite sure what the right continuation would have been in case of king f3. I actually haven't consulted the mighty engine about this, but I wouldn't be surprised if it were very similar to the game with bishop c5. I'm going to chuck on the engine, lame it is. And the engine says that the rook sack works out to be to black's favor because there is some juiciness coming here. Check. Look at the theme. One rook, another rook gone, and after f3, queen takes, queen takes. I'm guessing we are going to win a queen here. Check here, check. Of course, I all saw this. So I calculated this, I just didn't want to bother you. Nah, no idea. It was a really, really deep line. One that you can only enter on the grounds of this has to be right. And said player would have done it. I'm 100% certain. It's not calculable in my opinion because it's way too deep. But on guts, I think I would have entered it, and I'm very sure that my student would have too. Now, having said that, there is an even better move, so before I get carried away, let's just go for mate. Yeah, that would have done the damage. So, opponent goes back to f1, and of course, bishop c5, instantly sacking the rook. And here, admittedly, opponent goes wrong. Because instead of greed, they should have played g3, providing safe shelter for the king, and be ready for d3 when the queen can swing back to cover the mate threat on f2. That being said, even here, white is actually worse off a tad. It's very difficult to defend a position like that. And in fact, d3 was inaccurate. Castles first have been the right move. Now after bishop b3, bishop c5, the opponent erred with queen b8 check being extremely greedy. And tada, lo and behold, the queen and bishop duo again delivers a tremendously awesome victory. Simply, queen takes f2. Mate is unstoppable. And look at that. We sack the two rooks for the sake of activating one piece. And that's it. That is enough to win a game because now the two extra rooks are utterly worthless. Really, really awesome attack and very imaginative chess by black. I'm very, very impressed. I just wish that it had been fully correct in the sense that after queen b3, Yeah, after g3, I think this would have been an interesting game. Let's put it this way. According to engine, after castles, king g2, queen f5, black is somewhat better. Now e4, queen f3 is a threat. It's up to queen here though. I'm just back. Wow. And then f5, e4, d3 is the plan. So this would have been a new game altogether, nowhere near as flashy, but I really did like how it went with rook takes c3, giving up the rook and then giving up the other one too. What a legend. And look at the time. He had 152 by bishop c5. He had only 25 seconds left. And ta-da! Checkmate. Good on you, my student. Good on you. This is what we play chess for. Sacking the board and delivering an awesome checkmate in the end with whatever little we have left. So that was my student's rock for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you didn't mind my analogy bringing in a classical game into it just for the extra learning effect. And that will be it from me for now, and I will be back with more soon. Bye.